Tuesday Tidbit training. Today's topic, a lot of T's there, email etiquette for the business professional. We want to give you a big fat welcome this morning on this lovely grayish, cloudy / blue sky day. Thanks, Sarah, for already knowing what I'm asking for. If you could hop into the chat, let us know that you are able to use the chat, you found it, and then of course where you're joining from is always fun to know as we tour the province this morning in our attendee chat section. Excellent. Thanks, everyone. Also, a reminder at the top of your screen, there's a section for questions and the ever-loving emoji button. We always love that. And so thank you for joining us today. This is a topic that I wish we could brainwash the world with. And as some of you may know, we have coming up our email etiquette course. So this is literally a tidbit of that course that will be presented by the lovely Rochelle. On November 10th and 17th will be the course for the email etiquette. So please feel free to stop by our website, weminterlake.ca, for more information and to register. Yay, thanks everybody. I love seeing where we're joining from. That just makes my heart so happy. As a reminder, you're with Workplace Education Manitoba. We're helping people to develop essential skills that are needed for work, learning, and life, and email etiquette is definitely one of those. We'd also like to express appreciation to the following for supporting the development of this continuous learning skills curriculum: Employment and Social Development Canada and Manitoba Education and Training. This project was jointly funded through Human Resources Skills Development Canada and Entrepreneurship Training and Trade. And of course, for more information about that stuff, you can visit I call it the mothership website, wem.mb.ca, or contact the email address for that, info@wem.mb.ca. Our vision is that all Manitobans have access to the essential skills, knowledge, and training required to determine and pursue their goals related to learning, the workplace, and life. Now, as we have here, thanks Gail for popping that into the chat, our web address, weminterlake.ca, and of course that's where we are. We also like to point out that during our unprecedented and unsettling times, we've reopened our West Centers with COVID-19 protocols firmly in place, so please don't come if you're sick. However, we do have several centers located throughout the province, as indicated here on the screen. Of course, we have our Interlake one in Selkirk, located across from the Gaynor Family Regional Library, and we are snuggled in close with our friends at Red River College, so that's where you can find us in Selkirk. Now, what are the 9 essential skills? In order for us to really take a look at where we're headed today, I wanted to just do a quick overview. Reading, document use, numeracy, writing, oral communication, working with others, thinking, digital technology, continuous learning. Now, we have in bold here number 4, which is writing, which is, of course, a huge part of email etiquette. But if you really look closely, we are hitting at quite a few of these. We need to know how to read. Even some documents, when we think about email, being able to attach documents, so being able to use documents, writing, of course. We have oral communication. I'd like to think of our email also as communication. So we're going to be pulling a little bit from that communication spot as well, working with others. I'm laughing because think about the emails that we get from our coworkers. They're different from person to person. And so being able to navigate all of those personalities and communication styles, of course, thinking before we're writing. Digital technology is huge when we think about email etiquette. We need to be able to use our email. And of course, we are all here today for number 9 of continuous learning. I'm so thankful for that. Now, some numbers for you. According to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, here's a big number: 73.4% of employers want a candidate with strong written communication skills. Written communication was the number 3 desired quality overall, behind leadership and the ability to work as a team member. Isn't that true? I find, and I I love to talk about this, about our communication skills and how important they are. We cannot be a strong leader if we don't have communication skills. We cannot be effective in building teams if we don't have strong communication skills. We cannot send amazing emails if we lack communication skills, right? And so keeping in mind as we go through email etiquette, how it does fall under that umbrella of communication. Now, let's fill the chat. What are the positive impacts of effective writing in the workplace? What do we see? Absolutely. Thank you. Clear communication, right? Less errors, clarity, understanding intent. Thank you. Speaking my language. Yeah, we get our ideas across to others clearly. It makes sense, right? And even if they're not clear, we have created that space where we can open up and ask questions, right? If we don't know something, we don't know it. And so being able to ask questions, seek clarity, have that communication, and of course, understanding intent. Absolutely. Which leads to fewer errors, less conflict, less misunderstanding, less misinterpretation of what's going on in the workplace. We say here that when used effectively, writing has a positive impact on the workplace environment. You guys have hit a couple of these, right? Positive engagement, clarity, everybody's favorite, shared understanding. How about this? Getting your job done right. Fewer errors, increased productivity, and yep, there it is, profit, right? Because we know that when we have this, smooth running machine, things are going well, we're going to increase profit. Anytime we have a lag or we're slowing down or there are errors, that profit is reduced. Now, we'll be able to succeed as we organize ideas logically so others can easily understand. Now, I love this image because it describes me perfectly. I'm the image on the right. Now, I have a story to tell. Don't worry. I'm going to take you down every single detour possibly, but it'll be exciting and then we'll eventually get back to the story. Now, email is is different than that, right? We email's not meant to for ramblings and things like that. It's meant to have clear, concise ideas that we can share. And for some of us, depending on our workplace culture, we need, I can't even, it hurts my heart to use these words, a paper trail, because that to me shows lack of trust. But anyway, I'll shove that down for a second. That we're able to have that trail, that communication, and to have things organized logically so that we can find it. Now, you think about emails that end up looking like a big giant block of text. To me, that's not organized logically. Even if the words, and even if it is organized logically, I want to see bullet points. I want to see some spaces. I like to see that white space in between lines. Call me crazy. I will not read it. I'm sorry, I'm not going to read it. I will read the first part and I will read the last, but there's probably a good chunk in the middle that I've just scanned over. Now, the other big thumbs up for organizing our ideas logically is that often we are searching on our phones. Think about a meeting, you're trying to look up an email, right? We're looking on our phones. And so that idea of think of that the next time you're writing an email that someone could be receiving this on their phone. And so how much am I going to put in there? And am I organizing this logically so that they can find it? Thank you. You'll also succeed as you dun, da, 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 check for grammar, punctuation, and spelling. And guess what? Let's just say you're not very good at any of this stuff. You ain't got the grammars. There are programs that you can have on your computer to help you out. Now, some email programs will have that already in place. Different, if you're ever wondering why you have all those red underlines in your emails, just do a little right click over top of that. It's telling you that you misspelled something. okay? Or grammar, we get the blue underlining, right? Or even with punctuation, it helps us to be better at our jobs. It gives us that little edge up. So let's use those tools that we have. Now, I included this cute little picture here for you. Every time someone types too funny, I immediately picture them fist in the air going on a quest to find funny, right? Because too funny should be RTOO funny, right? Too funny. And there are lots of them. You'll see people with the there, and there. I have a friend, ooh, it's really difficult, right? Because they want to be the grammar police, but then they say something like this that I've popped into the chat. And I'm like, okay, we've got the two, and two, we've got the there, and there's, but let's work on our scene and our saw. Okay? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, that's okay. Rochelle's going to help us out in this email etiquette November 10th and 17th in order to be the very best at writing emails. Now, we'll also succeed if we self-edit our own writing. Okay? Now, you see all these kind of funny memes everywhere. I like cooking my family and my pets. Now, use commas, don't be a psycho. All right. The other thing is sometimes we've looked at something for too long. Too long. Do you see what I mean? Too long. And so, what I will do personally, I have a couple of trusted colleagues. I will have them read over things to make sure that I haven't inadvertently made some mistakes. Absolutely. We need fresh eyes, right? I think about that in some, even in this PowerPoint, who knows? I might have mistakes even though I've gone over it a million times, because sometimes our eyes just start to see that. I've said this before, the peeling paint on the front door, we stop seeing it. And the same thing can happen with our writing. We may not mean to have poor grammar or misspelled words, but it happens. And yeah, having that fresh set of eyes. Another thing, another pro tip here is start at the bottom and read it backwards. Okay. So the other day, my cousin had typed, "We are all stars." What she meant to type was, "We are all stars." What did I read? I read, "We are all stars." I didn't even see the T, and I wasn't even the one who wrote it. And so sometimes our mind will play tricks, right? And pop in things that we didn't mean to have there. And so, yeah, thinking about that. So, for example, writing own edit self, that's how I would go through and do that self-editing. Now, there are a lot of different ways we can succeed. We may even have templates or things like that in our workplace that we have to use. One thing to keep in mind here, well, there are many things, but the next thing to keep in mind is who's receiving this written communication. Now, when you think about an email, a lot of people could be looking at this email. It could be being forwarded, it could be being sent around, it could go to our internal and external customers, our coworkers, supervisors, managers, employers, owners, and clients, right? So there's so many different audiences that could be receiving your written communication. So let's be mindful, right? Let's be mindful of what we're putting in there. Now, we ask those positive things. What are the consequences of ineffective writing in the workplace? What have we seen, or what could we possibly imagine as we head into the Halloween time of year, right? All these super scary things. While you guys are writing in there, I just had an old experience come to mind, and forgive me, I think I have shared this once before, but it was a long time ago, so maybe you've forgotten. Anyway, there was some conflict in the workplace. This is in a former life, of course, probably 20 years ago, and there was one colleague who was concerned that there was unfair treatment from the manager and was sending an email to a supervisor to say, "Hey, I think this employee is being mistreated." Okay? Sending it to the supervisor. They wanted to clear the air and get things figured out. Now, instead of sending it to the supervisor, because they were thinking about the manager, guess what happened? Mm-hmm. That very thing, the thing that we all dread, the thing that keeps us up at 3 a.m. Did I put the right name in the subject or in the to box? No, she sent it to the manager, the person she was complaining about. She sent the email to them. Now, this person was having some struggles in their personal life as well and was maybe a little passionate about work and home life. And thankfully, was away that morning that this all went down. And they ended up getting the big boss involved, IT involved, and was able to retract the email. Pretty much, it was like you could imagine it on a movie where IT is leaving the room, manager is coming in, and manager sits down and says, is anybody else having trouble with their email? Mine seems to be really slow. And they insert the cricket sound and one little voice, no, I think everything's fine. It hasn't had a problem on my end. And yeah, it was awful. So, like you guys said, creating misunderstandings, um, saying the wrong thing to the wrong person, and exactly my scenario there. Work was done wrong, waste of time, incorrect, takes longer because of confusion, cause personal. Yeah, it was pretty awful. I'm not gonna lie to you. Now, you guys have said this, breakdown of communication, loss of rapport with coworkers, loss of opportunities for promotion, loss of a reference, job, or opportunity. So, it's important that we take this email etiquette stuff seriously. Think about how many emails you get in a day. I think it's something like the average office worker gets about 80 emails a day. Okay. Now, some of it's junk, sure, some of it's important stuff. What's really important, though, is to make sure that we are looking at those emails, that we're reading them, because sometimes if we're getting that many, we may be overwhelmed. Now, I'm sure that Rochelle will talk about sorting email and things like that, so I'm not going to give a big spoiler alert on that. But you can set up rules, colors, whatever it takes for you to be able to receive those emails that you need. We've all faced email challenges, and I'm sure we could start a small support group for this type of thing. Now, what I love receiving are emails where my name is in the CC. Do you know why? Because that means, hey, you just need to know this. You don't actually have to do anything about it. But sometimes what happens is we think, okay, I'm going to send this email to Gail and to Rochelle and to Leah and to Mel. Those are my peeps, right? But if I don't put them all in the two, whoever's in the two is the person who needs to reply. Those other people just have to sit back and watch things unfold. So keep that in mind, that we're sending our email to the right person. And if we want people to act on it, we better put them in the two, right? Just some simple things like that. Now, this seemed concerning to me. Most emails and texts use a minimal percentage of time for planning and organizing. Now, hands up if you're that person, my hand is up, who just replies, who just sends the email without ever really going through and planning out what you're going to say. The reason it's concerning is that this message is often sent without any revising or proofreading being done at all. And so then we end up with all of these nasty things that you guys have thrown into the chat, right? We say the wrong thing, we're creating misunderstandings. I'm sure a simple Google search could pull up any variety of miscommunication gone wrong in workplace email, including misspelling of simple words that all of a sudden are now turning them into swear words, right? You think of the word shot, could easily turn into a different word that we would not want to use in the workplace. And so be really mindful of this. Am I the type of person that's just shooting off emails without really thinking? Or could I take that time at the beginning to actually bring together those organized, logical thoughts and then place them out in a way? Always reread the email before sending it. Absolutely. And make sure we're sending it to the right person. Now, some more facts for you guys. Some of the complaints shared by employers about writing in the workplace would be, and a lot of these go back to, elementary or high school, run-on sentences, writing that rambles and is unclear, punctuation, grammatical errors we talked about, misused words. Anybody watch The Office? Thumbs up, thumbs down. That manager misuses words all the time and it cracks me up. Insurmountable. Spider face. Okay, well, Gail, you need to do some homework. Everybody go watch The Office. That's your homework for the day. Anyway, but there's a lot of that kind of funny stuff that happens, right? Not so funny, offensive or annoying tone, improper or no greeting, guilty, lack of organization. So making sure that we're not doing these things, right? That we've got things figured out. It is estimated that in the workplace, written communication accounts for a significant percentage of errors and mistakes. And I'm sure that we would all agree that that's true, right? Whether we've done it or we've received it. And as a refresher, let's take a look at our communication percentages. Think about this. This is for face-to-face communication, right? Through voice, visual, verbal words. 7% are our words. 55 is our body language, facial expressions, etc., and then 38 our tone. Now, if this is true, which we know it to be true, that 7% of our words is saying, it's not saying that words are important, it's the exact opposite. It's saying, look how important our words are, that someone is only getting 7% of our message through the words. Now, if we were to take away that body language, we don't have body language in written communication, but what we do have is tone, whether inserted by the reader or inserted by the writer. And so, again, that misinterpretation can really happen. Someone said earlier that we want to make sure that we're getting across the right intention 100%. So be mindful of the word's tone. If we're thinking about writing and specifically email writing, it's not about you anymore, right? Step one, know that it's not about you, okay? This is the problem with the world when we treat people how we want to be treated. It doesn't always work, and especially when it comes to email. We need to use plain language, okay? So this source on this quote, the International Plain Language Federation, seems like they know what they're talking about, right? Communication is in plain language if its wording, structure, and design, I think about blank spaces, bullet points, numberings, are so clear that the intended audience can easily find what they need, understand what they find, and use that information. Now, wouldn't that be nice if we all felt that way? Using plain language shows a customer's focus, especially think about email that we're sending to our customers. Sometimes we're so entrenched in our own corporate culture that we forget that our acronyms and the words that we use could be exclusive and that our customers might not understand. So when we use plain language, we show that customer focus. It shows that we're communicating effectively, helps eliminate barriers, and then, of course, reduces time spent explaining. Our goals of plain language in email writing is to help the reader find the information. This isn't a scavenger hunt, right? And again, those bullet points can really help. It also helps the reader not just find it, but understand. If your document doesn't do both, then it's not in plain language. If they can't find and understand the information, we failed. We need to identify our audience. How I type an email to my manager, to my coworker, to my client is going to look a little bit different, okay? I might not type, hey, Starshine, to my client, but I definitely would to one of my coworkers, right? So being mindful of the audience and what's our intention. Why does the user need to read your document? What's the purpose? And keep in mind their level of technical expertise. Again, we want to make sure that we're writing to the audience, not just to the experts. Even an expert will prefer a clearly written document, and that's so true. I came across a situation in a workplace not that long ago where the person came to me and said, Carrie, I'm having troubles with my email. I'm getting a lot of feedback that they're too wordy and too long. And I said, well, what does it look like? And then they showed me and I went, yeah, it's because it's too wordy and it's too long. And this person said, but I love the details. And so if I love the details, I think everybody should love the details. And there's information in there that they should have. So my suggestion to you and to them is to create an attachment. Give me the high level, give me the bullet points, and then say, for further information, here's an attachment with all those juicy details, right? That's one way that we can work through that. We want to keep things short. We want to use headings, short paragraphs, short sentences, everyday words, my favorite lists, tables even, if we want to go that far. And then DUANUT, which is do not use acronyms, no one understands them. Right? So let's keep our messages organized. Here's a great quote. If the reader is lost, it is generally because the writer has not been careful enough to keep them on the path. I go back to that one of our first slides this morning of keeping our emails organized and logical, because we're sending them on a trip essentially, right? We're taking them on a trip. How are we getting them there? If they can't stay on the path, that's an us problem, not a reader problem. So in conclusion, let's keep in mind, who's the audience? Why are we writing the email? Is it to inform, to educate, to persuade, to call to action? They should be able to do something with the information we're providing, right? Whether it's to learn something, to file it away, or a call to action, like we said. What do we want our reader to do? That should be super clear and not tucked away in some giant paragraph. Okay, especially for those of us who are easily distracted over here, right here. Yeah, so let's keep that in mind. Email best practices, subject lines that relate to your reader, not an FYI or an hey there, right? Let's make it so that they understand what the subject is about. We've said it before. It can come across as the boy who cried wolf if we're constantly using our urgent action required. If we are doing things like when my brother came to pack me and labeled every box stuff and such, if we're labeling our emails stuff and such, if you know what I mean, it's less effective. People want to know what this email is about, what the email is about, and that's why we have subject lines, right? Understanding our audience, the idea, the rationale, and the action. Any supporting information should be provided, and then, like we've said, revise, proofread, check it. It's not just for them, but it's for your reputation. And let's be mindful of our fonts as well. Having 300 different fonts in an email, not super professional. And if I had my way in the world, I would remove Times News Roman. Anybody else with me? I think we're so done with that font. But yeah, using a font that people can read. I think about accessibility. Oh yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for the love and support on that one. Um, People with accessibility issues with reading, um, little tiny scripty fonts, not super great for email, not super great for the professional world, okay? And be mindful of the tone. Have someone check it. If you haven't had something to eat that day and you know you're hangry, or excuse me, you've got some sort of other personal issue going on in your life and it seems to be inserting into your email, have someone read it. Make sure that that yucky tone isn't there. Know that the average of 209 minutes, most people are checking their email, let's just say it this way, 5 hours a day. We're spending 5 hours of our lives looking at email. Make sure yours is getting noticed for the right reasons. Okay? So thank you so much, guys. I'm really excited for this webinar series that we have coming up November 10th and 17th with Rochelle. She's bomb.com. And so visit our website, womeninterlake.ca, to sign up. You won't want to miss it. It's going to be awesome. Verdana is awesome. I like Verdana. Say no to Comic Sans. I love Calibri. I find that it's any sans serif font. You know, thing about Times News is that it has all that extra stuff on the edges, something clear, right? I think this is Calibri, what we're using. Verdana is nice, I agree. Wouldn't that be a nice name for a dog? Anyway, thanks for joining, guys. If you do have any other questions about fonts or anything else, please feel free to reach out. You can always email me. I would love this topic, actually, over maybe a cup of warm tea. holmes.carey@hotmail.com. Feel free to email me on that. Okay, take care, everybody. Thanks again. Go forth and be awesome.